What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
This podcast contains language and themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience. Hello and welcome to the Three Busted Barstools podcast. You're joined by myself, the Sasquatch, the last bastion of research, the Doctor.
Good evening.
The man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. It's the Coach. And finally, back by popular demand, it's Beric Dundarian.
Hello again.
Gents.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you forward me on the popular demand? I just want to see it for myself, that's all.
Yeah, I'd like to actually see that too as well.
I've got references.
Where's the justification?
There was a lot of fight fans annoyed. They didn't get the fight breakdown of Lomachenko Lopez. And
no
they
one really
pleaded.
cares what the coach has to say as he's a blow-in, so let's just move on.
And there it is. The banter is back.
Just moving on. Let's just keep on trucking.
Yeah, another exceptional weekend of sports, gents. We tune into anything in particular?
Just some Premier League action. I know my pick of the weekend was Man United Chelsea. Fuck me. So boring.
This is a child-friendly show.
Yoga match.
Started
Yeah, Jesus.
there, didn't it?
Very bad. But I would like to point out that I'm really liking this whole PPV protest where people, instead of paying their 15 quid to pay pay-per-view to watch Liverpool Sheffield United, are donating their money to really good causes. So fair play to all those fans.
Yeah.
Gotta say, yeah. Just to point that out.
Yeah. I thought you were going to get us in a bit of a legal dispute and recommend a few illegal streams there. So
No, I would never.
Glad
I
you
would
took
never
it in a
do
different
that.
direction.
I have so many subscriptions.
Yeah.
Too
I
many,
pay
you might
for
say.
legally. But I do not have an OnlyFans. I would just like to point that out now.
What the fuck have I been paying for?
Yeah.
Not too much anyway.
Another bumper weekend of sport. I mean, you've had the UFC, you've had Premier League, you've had GA back again. I don't know if anyone's seen, but the AFL final was on Saturday. They had 30,000 fans in attendance. The NRL was on again this morning. They had 40,000 fans in attendance. It would offer maybe a glimmer of hope. That we're not a million miles away from returning to normality, maybe. Or at least give you that bit of hope. So that was good to see. Anything else, gents? Anything else you witnessed, you want to discuss before we get down to the nitty gritty?
I suppose it was an unfortunate evening for the Irish women's national team on Friday. They probably left it a little bit too late with their change. They looked a little bit leggy towards the end after starting to dominate the dominant side, and now they've really left the qualification or even a playoff qualification, in the other team's hands, where it had been in theirs. So look, we'll see how that goes. They got Germany in the last game. They're going to have to get a win there to even have any hope. So look, it'll be a game that the whole country, I'm sure, will tune into. But that was just a little bit unfortunate last week from my watchings.
Whole country will tune in, you reckon, yeah?
I'd say 50%. Yeah.
5-0.
5-0, yeah.
5-0.
Well, if you take gender equality in that, you're probably looking around 50%, yeah. 50% of fans of football, that is. So we've already cut down that.
I don't mean to put you on the spot here, I'm just asking. 5-0, okay. Who are they playing?
Germany. The Germans
They played or are
no,
playing?
they played Ukraine.
played Ukraine
that
on
match.
Friday,
So,
yeah.
Germany next year. Six Nations actually were back as well, but their game's on today.
No, so basically the Ireland-Italy game was the only game postponed in round 4. So they just played that game this weekend. And then it's the kind of Super Saturday or the last day of this this Saturday coming.
And then Ireland are playing France in the Stade de France
in Paris to close out. It's in our hands. They're saying that you need to get a bonus point victory against France, which would be difficult. But look, it's in our hands. And
we've had a good record against the French in recent years, if I'm not mistaken. It's given this fucking year has gone, it's hard to kind of look back on last year and see how last year's championship went.
Yeah, it's
I know the World Cup, Rugby World Cup, was only like 11 months ago. I can't remember. I can't remember. Like, it's completely like gone from memory.
Yeah, I think we're relying a lot on England to not do well, and they didn't have a game as a result of the bad Baz going on the tear.
On the lash,
so maybe there's a glimmer of hope for us there as well.
Led by the Kildare native Fergus McFadden. It was good
he apologises for, but sure, what's an apology?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nowadays,
anyway, we may as well get into the nitty gritty. So I suppose we're changing it around slightly this week. We're going with a beat the buzzer style format. Each bar stool is going to come to you for 10 minutes and try and bring their findings of their events from the world of sport, and they've got to get it out in 10 minutes and beat that buzzer. So, have we the clock ready?
Who's going first?
I'm going to jump in first, and then yourself.
What do we know? Clock, stopwatch.
We're actually doing an official clock, aren't we?
Oh, I've got one here with a klaxon ready to go.
Claxton.
Yes.
The budget's going up.
It's a word they trouble to say in Merseyside.
Even Claxton.
Are we good to go?
Are you ready, Seth?
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready. Start the clock.
3, 2, 1, hit me.
Okay, so the last 2 weekends, as we all know, have been crazy for sport. But one of the things that might have slipped through the nets, as such, was last week. Daryl Morey, the GM of the Houston Rockets, stood down. And why I think that's significant is Daryl Morey, without unbeknownst to a lot of fans this side of the world, revolutionised the sport of basketball in the NBA. So I'm going to give you a quick explanation. You might have heard the term small ball and kind of a brief explanation of how that worked. So I suppose to start us off and to understand how small ball really works, you need to understand 3 things. So there was 2 significant rule changes and then 1 cultural aspect. So the first of the rule changes was the introduction of the shot clock way back in 1954. 24 seconds still hasn't changed, and this brought about a minimum pace in the NBA. Following on from that, in 1960, the ABA adopted the 3-point line. It took another 20 years for it to make its way to the NBA, at which stage it took another 15-20 years to come into effect, largely because you had a generation of players who'd never had a 3-point line, had no interest in it, and viewed it as an inefficient shot. And then finally was the cultural aspect of things. So when Jordan left the league, there was a vacuum left in the league, and this was filled with dominant bigs. So you had Shaquille O'Neal, you had Kevin Garnett, and you had Tim Duncan. As a result of the dominance of the big man, NBA franchises drafted big. So the number of 6'10" plus players drafted spiked. But because these NBA franchises were focusing on size and strength, they forgot to focus on skill, and the NBA kind of entered a down period or a dull period. It was not, the standard of play was quite poor. So that kind of paved the way for the evolution of this theory of small ball. So basically, small ball is a concept of focusing on speed, agility, and perimeter scoring outside, like in stark contrast to your traditional strength, size, and low post offense and defense. Obviously, if you're opting for a small ball format, your points are going to come on the fast break, or they're going to come from perimeter shooting, and you're going to sacrifice in rebounding both offensively and defensively. And I think if you look at the Houston Rockets, for example, key proponents of small ball, they would have finished 20th in 2009-20 season in rebounding. So that's small ball as a concept. I suppose why that ties us in with Daryl Morey is Daryl Morey was a stats guru, an analytical genius. He was kind of the first big data man to take over in the NBA. I suppose where he came from is he started out as a consultant with EY Parthian, which was a leading consultant firm, with a specialist. He was specialising in sport at the time. He was also a key statistical consultant for Stats Inc. So any sports analysis fans will know Stats Inc. is kind of one of the big leaders in that world. When he left EY Partion, he became the senior vice president of operations for the Boston Celtics. But while he was in Boston, in addition to doing his operational procedures such as ticket pricing and that type of thing, he was tasked with developing a series of analytic methods in terms of basketball decisions. So it would have been outside of his remit. So that was analytical methods basically to assist the basketball side of things in terms of the draft, trades, free agency, and advanced scouting of his opponents. Due to the success he had in Boston, he was hired in 2006 by the Houston Rockets as assistant GM, promoted a year later to the GM. It couldn't have come at a worse time for Morey himself. The Houston Rockets, when he took over in 2007, Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady were coming to the end of their year, and they made the playoffs in 2008, but they then faced a rebuild. So from 2009 to 2012, they didn't feature in the playoffs, but due to the strength of Morey's analytical thinking, Jesus, stumbled guys that, they never dropped below 500, which was huge for a franchise in rebuild. The end of the rebuild, obviously, was 2012 with the signing of then Sixth Man of the Year, James Harden from OKC. And once they signed James Harden, they spent 8 successive years reaching the playoffs each time. So they made 2 Western Conference Finals, 5 Western Conference Semi-Finals, and they'd 3 first-round exits. One, of course, was 2016 to the Golden State Warriors. We all know what happened there. But that was possibly the best NBA franchise we've seen in recent years, was the Golden State Warriors during that time. We've lost the coach, but I shall proceed. And then basically in 2016, what would have happened is they would have signed Mike D'Antoni. At the time, it would have drawn a lot of ire by NBA officials as they kind of viewed D'Antoni as outdated, a kind of pick-and-roll specialist. Now, that was because of his time with the Lakers, and this is the post-Kobe, pre-LeBron Lakers, so it was a garbage can. They weren't a great side whatsoever. But Daryl Morey hired him because of the work he'd done with the Phoenix Suns. So obviously that was with Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, and an agent, Shaquille O'Neal. And then his work he'd done with the Knicks. They were terrible. They were in a rebuild, but he managed to get them to the playoffs twice out of 4 years. The problem being, though, Mike D'Antoni's religious belief in efficiency, so picking highly efficient shots, doesn't work well with a small ball concept in that you're relying on perimeter shooting, and that's ultimately why it failed in Houston. And then obviously the final aspect was going all in, and this is going to kill me, on Russell Westbrook. They went all in on Russell Westbrook to add pace to their offense, as a result of his play to add space to the perimeter shooters, but it left them with a small side, and they were tight on salary cap, and as a result they're now facing into a rebuild with an aging roster. But I suppose the reason I bring it up and why it's quite strange is Mike D'Antoni, Daryl Morey took over in Houston with a view to bring in a big data revolution in the NBA. Normally when someone comes in with a revolution, they're either ostracized, they're labeled a pariah, and then they have the success, and then the rest of the league adopts. Or they come in, they're pariah, they're ostracized, and they fail, and everyone rubbishes them. Daryl Morey failed in the NBA, not because no one agreed with him, but he failed because the rest of the NBA caught on too quick. And you see all these highly skilled big men coming into the league. Nikola Jokic, Kristaps Porzingis, Joel Embiid, the list goes on. And you also see the high level of 3-point shooting in the league. You look at the Golden State Warriors. You look at big men all across the league that can hit 3 points between shots. So I just thought it was an interesting story to bring to you all. And that's me 10-minute take. Any talking points?
Doesn't mean the end of the 7-footer in the NBA, though.
No, absolutely not. Like Porzingis is touching 7 foot. But I think
KD's 7 foot as well, isn't
Let's not talk about Raw.
80 is 7 foot.
Oh, 80. Oh, yeah.
I meant KD, but I said KD, but I meant 80.
That's okay, because I thought we were going to have to virtually score.
Have to cut that out.
Yeah, but like I suppose you're now seeing a period in the NBA where it's all about skill, and you've big men who aren't looking to dominate in the low post or looking to dominate in the key. It's all about perimeter shooting.
How does it progress?
How does it progress? Jesus, I think zero contact, limited dunks unless they're on the fast break, no contested shots. that's about as far as you can take it, I suppose. I think it might revert back down the line if you can get a truly dominant big, but they're rare and they're few and far between. I mean, you look at Zion Williamson, that's a dominant big, but he's now been asked to take shots.
He's not that big though. He's not as big as others.
Not height wise, but in terms of like strength and size and raw power, he's bigger than most.
What height is he?
Don't have it.
He's only like 6'4", is he not? No.
Quick Google search for the fans.
Quick Google, yeah.
30 seconds, baby. 30 seconds.
30
You're 10
seconds
minutes
to
to
get
Sarah.
this out.
Let's get any points out.
Zion Williamson size. Oh, and of course they give it to me in meters. The pricks.
Meters will do.
He's Jesus, 2 points.
I say 6'4".
1.98 meters.
Just short of it's 3 feet in a meter, isn't it? So.
Yeah, the next one.
Call it 6. We'll call it 6.
We got it 6. We'll revert back before the end of the show for anyone that's like,
Yeah.
oh, is he 6'3" or 6'4"? Yeah, look, and that's the Claxton on the first session. I said I go first because if I make a tit of it, it's better I look like a tit than anyone else looks like a tit. Next up,
Imagine Googling, right, someone's height and feet, and they still give it to you in meters.
did that happen to you?
Upsetting, isn't it? Like,
Did that happen to you?
but I found it.
Fucking metric system.
He's 6'7".
6'7". Like,
He's still quite tall.
NBA circles, I know what you're saying. He's not the biggest, but like, yeah.
Yeah. Damn metric system, huh? A quarter pounder.
Oh.
Anyway.
Grammar, please.
A good old Simpsons reference.
Anyway,
Get home.
next port of call. He's back. Yet
It's
again.
me, is it? I don't actually have one, to be honest with you. But I'll
Well, it's
just...
Sunday night and you don't have topic.
Jeez. Well, when we just go up,
No.
When we just go-
Just stop shouting. Stop shouting.
No one shouting.
Bring it
mate.
fucking down. I'm gonna do a 5-minute little belter here. Just bear with me. Get the timer on. Gee, get the timer on. Timer on.
3, 2, 1, and play.
2-1. Right, I'm going to discuss the UFC that was on last night. Khabib fought Gaethje and then retired. There's a lot of talk going on. Dana White came out and said that Khabib is the greatest fighter of all time. Which, it's arguable. It's arguable, but I wouldn't agree with it for a series of points. If you look at Khabib's body of work of who he's fought, he hasn't. No, he's fought some very good lads, but he has only 13 fights in the UFC. He's only. I see. I don't have this in front of me. I should have done this up. So I
It's
can
okay.
I can only apologize. But I should have done this up. He only won the belt against Ally Quinta when he was meant to fight Tony for like the third time, Tony Ferguson. So he's only, I think, 5 title defenses, which, in the grand scheme of things, arguing as the greatest of all time. When you look at the likes of Anderson Silva, who has 9 title defenses, Demetrius Johnson, who has 12, like, it doesn't. It's a bad argument, I would say. The other thing then is Dana White was saying that his dominance in all his fights has kind of made him the GOAT as well. just fair. He's only lost one round officially on the scorecards since he's been in the UFC, and that was to McGregor, who was flat out on the proper 12 the whole the whole fight week leading up to the fight, and apparently broke his foot 3 weeks before the fight. Take from that what you will. Take from that what you will.
Who broke his foot?
McGregor did.
He's also saying it now about Khabib though.
No, Khabib broke his foot.
Oh, okay.
3 weeks before this fight. So before last night, Khabib broke his foot. That, like, I don't think you can call him the greatest of all time, but he's definitely like top 3. And I seen somebody putting something on up on Twitter yesterday, and it was like, oh no, it was this morning, sorry. And it was like the whole thing, it's like the same with the basketball. Because you know the way that's the big fucking, like, who's the GOAT? Like,
it's an emotional comment, like.
Yeah, exactly. And football is the same as well, like between Messi and Ronaldo. There is no, basically what your man was saying was, there is no like greatest of all time. In like everyone, like there's obviously so many people who you could argue are the greatest of all time, but it's definitely like there's no specific credentials that you need to have to be the greatest of all time. Do you know what I mean? Like
top 10, and that's
yeah, I think that's the best way of doing it. So like if you just have like or even a top 5, do you know what I mean?
The thing I wonder about Khabib though, does he have enough money to go and retire and
absolutely?
Do nothing? Does he, like, because when you think of Khabib and any other fighters that go on after when they retire, like they have well-spoken English and they can do all, like, go on TV, and is anyone going to sit down and watch a chat show with Khabib? Probably not, because he couldn't hold a chat show out of well, obviously back in Russia or whatever, but to the American audience where I'm guessing his money is made, but like what does he do here now when he retires?
But when you look at it though, the American audience, they don't give a fuck about, because they changed the whole time of this fight card to suit Russian audience and European audience, where Khabib's fan base is much larger. I'd imagine the only other person they do that for is Conor, as in change the time of the fight to suit the demographic of people they were watching. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what does he do now?
Nothing. He goes off.
On the piss?
He goes. No, he doesn't drink.
Does he not?
No.
Good Muslim.
He's a good Muslim. He'll go back to Dagestan now, and he'll just live out his life. You won't hear from him again.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those people, like, McGregor has retired fucking 5 or 6 times at this stage. But, like, anytime he says, oh, I'm retired, everyone's just like, oh, right, so he's on the bottle again. Like, do you know that kind of way? Whereas Khabib will just, that'll be
coach.
Him. Yeah, he'll coach.
Just coach.
Yeah, it's like, there was, if any has seen the fight last night, he absolutely smoked Justin Gaethje, who's like, Khabib's one of those people who, like, every time I see him fight someone, I'm like, this is it. He'll be beaten now. And he never fucking is. And like last night, I was convinced. I was sitting there and I was like, this is 100. He's gonna lose now. And he absolutely smoked him. Like, he was never really in trouble. There was a few hard leg kicks he got hit with, but other than that, like, once it got to the ground, it was like man versus child in the ground. Like, he dominated him. Like,
Is it something that's gonna haunt McGregor forever?
I don't think it'll haunt him in the sense that he lost to him. I think what will annoy him is his preparation leading into the fight. Because if you look at it on paper, Conor's been his hardest fight, which is mad when you think about it. As everyone has, like, if you look on any front, not that social media is the best thing to go off, but social media, if you look at any social media comment section, the first thing is, well, Conor needs to do jiu-jitsu and wrestling, when his takedown defense is probably the best we've seen against Khabib in that first round of that fight. Like, there was a sequence at the start of the fight where Khabib shoots for takedown, and it's back and forth in a wrestling sequence, which no one else has been able to do with him, basically. Justin Gaethje is one of the best American wrestlers, like, ever. Like collegiately. Division 1 All-American wrestler, and made his wrestling career off defensive wrestling. So, like, being able to stop takedowns, not take people down. So his style would technically, on paper, transfer perfectly for MMA. And Khabib just, once Khabib got hold of him, it was like he was
turned to Play-Doh.
Yeah, he was. It was like he was 50 kilo heavier than him. He just threw him around, like, and that's like the only person who's wrestling has been kind of at a similar level, like efficiency wise, is GSP.
That's why he wanted to fight, really, wasn't it?
Well, him and his dad had always talked about the GSP fight, and his dad obviously died there recently, which is a massive part of why he's retiring, because he wasn't gonna fight apparently, because the dad died, but then he sat down with his, like, he's so fucking religious, like, and I don't know if it's even religious, but he sat down with his mother and was like, "What do you reckon?" And she goes, "Do this last one, but that's it then." And so that's why he came out and retired. But you could see how, I'd say it was a heavy enough fight from last night in an emotional sense more so than a physical sense.
Yeah.
You just see, like, you've seen all the videos of him, he just literally just breaks down crying for around 5 minutes.
How do you see what do you think about the division? How will it develop now? Like, so he said last night that he sees Poirier and Conor fight in January, and then the winner takes on Gaethje. Is that how you think it will play?
I reckon it'll go Conor Poirier in January, Tony, Michael Chandler, and then they'll do the winners of both of them will fight for the belt in case you'll fight the next person, or you wouldn't know. Like, it would depend on. See, the contract negotiations are like, they're so tough when you get to the top of the divisions, because everyone thinks they should be paid more money than they're paid. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be paid more money, but like, this is what's happening with a lot of the fights. Like, I do think it's probably the best time for Khabib to retire, in, like, from the UFC's point of view, in the sense that they've just signed Michael Chandler as well, who's a massive free agent for them to get in, who's like another good body for that division. And lightweight is always one of the UFC's better divisions as well, so I'm sure it'll be grand. Like,
Yeah,
that kind
it seems Dana's is kind of weighing out a decision in January on where to, because I know he was asked during the week about the Dallas Cowboys Stadium and stuff. He's like, "Oh, we've been in talks with them and all that sort of stuff." It just seems that he's waiting out because he wants to make as most money as possible and just put it in a state where they're going to allow a full seater stadium. That looks to me as like, he doesn't really want to use McGregor as his tool if he can't have people in the stadium. That's the way it looks.
Yeah, but it's like, I always find it mad, and I've said this on the podcast before. It's like, I always think it's crazy when people are like, "Oh, well, he's only after that to make money." Yeah, fucking course he is. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the exact same when people used to say it about footballers leaving teams and all. Like, "Oh, he only went to United for the money." Fucking, are you telling me that you wouldn't go to another job that paid you more? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, people just don't, like, I do laugh at people that say that, but like, I understand what you're saying. Like, Dana I think he is just holding out for the McGregor money. Like, McGregor's just one of those people. Like, he's nearly shot himself in the foot at the same time of being such a draw. I know you could never have predicted what was going to happen, like, with the pandemic and shit, but like, he nearly makes them too much money to do it without having the crowds and the gate, like, that kind of way. But I would say, the way I'm looking at it is, I would say Conor will have the belt back early 2022, if not late 2021. I'm calling it now. Go back to this podcast when it happens.
Mark it down. 25th of October 2020.
Two big calls this season, I think.
Big call.
United not to finish top 10. McGregor to have that belt back early 2021.
That's still Hort's coach, by the way. Thanks.
That's still which?
That's still Hort's.
Yeah, well, look, it's reality.
Anyway, that's all for part one. We'll take a quick break, have a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll return for both the doctors and the coaches. 10-minute buzz around. Hi everyone, it's the Sasquatch here from the Three Busted Barstools podcast. This episode and all episodes in season 2 are produced in partnership with the Square Ball. The Square Ball is located just off Marion Square. It has dozens of screens showing televised sport and award-winning barbecue, making it the perfect spot in Dublin to catch the game. For more information or to book in, please visit the-square-ball.com. Thanks. Hello and welcome back to part 2, season 7 of the We Busted Barstools.
That sounded
Season
like a question.
7. Season 7?
Season 2, episode 4. Thanks for the correction.
Episode.
Carrying on in the same fashion as part 1. It's the Doctor.
As the start.
It's the Doctor for his round to beat the buzzer. And start that clock.
Go.
Yeah, start that clock. This won't be too long. Basically, my segment is on the history of short sponsorship in football.
That's shirt.
Short,
Sponsorship.
SHIRT.
Big
Not
S,
short.
small hurt.
Yeah, so basically, the whole concept of short sponsorship in order to generate revenue for teams and clubs started kind of back in it said, historians on this say that it started back in the 50s with a Uruguayan club called Peñarol. And then a couple of clubs in France, Denmark and Austria turned to it as well. Now, a lot of people also say that it started off in England with Kettering Town, which is not true, by the way, because this is a fact, and that was 1976. In 1973, a Bundesliga squad or team club called Eintracht Braunschweig were the first ones to officially endorse and wear short sponsorships. And that sponsorship was from a well-known drink called Jägermeister.
Okay.
Jägermeister. However, what happened was, like the Bundesliga at the time, they had like this law where you couldn't have sponsorship. So they kind of defied that. And they voted to get rid of basically their club logo and replace it with Jägermeister
What
as
a
their
dear.
short sponsor. So they were given like a contract, and it said that it was being between. Now we're talking the 70s, so the Germans still had marks back then. Something between 160,000 and 800,000 marks over 5 years to put their Jägermeister logo. They were the first club to do it, and they debuted it in March of 1973 against Schalke. And then after that, towards the end of 1973, about 7 months later, the Bundesliga decided, I'm sure they were probably under some kind of pressure because they seen the value in short sponsorships in how it generates revenue for clubs. They decided to sanction jersey sponsorship, so they obviously changed their laws around it. So yeah, 1976 then, after that, Kettering Town, which was an English Southern League team, signed like a four figures, considering what sponsorship gets you nowadays, like 4 figures, with Kettering Tires was the name of the place that they got their sponsorship from.
Yeah, but you
They
gotta,
had
you gotta look at the league though.
Yeah, true as well, yeah, true. But I'm sure, like, even if there is Southern League teams, I'm sure if they do have sponsorships, it's got to be more than 4 figures.
4 figures could be 9.5 grand. Like it's big
It's
money.
4
for-
figures in what year?
Yeah,
In the
1976.
1970s, 1976.
Yeah, it's a substantial amount of money. Like
I had an
but
onion
even
tied
at
to my
that,
belt because it was the style at the time.
it's style at the time. How weird was I? Yeah, but even at that, like the FA or whoever the fuck was in charge at the time were kind of against that as well. So instead of, they were asked to remove the sponsorship logo because it said Kettering Tires, but they removed it and put in Kettering T, which they said then, oh, the T actually stands for town, so they kind of got away with that. But about a year later, then 1977, the kind of English leagues began to allow jersey sponsorship as well. So you can kind of see how, like, it went from that in the 70s to what we see now. It's kind of mad, isn't it? Like the sponsorship, the revenue it generates out the jersey sales that they get. But even at that, like, nowadays you have like your main jersey sponsor, you have your training gear sponsor. You've like your timing sponsor. You've
They've two
like
sponsors
everyone has
now
like
as well.
sponsors on their sleeves and stuff
Yeah,
as well
sleeve
now.
sponsorship. That's what I was going to say to you.
Sleeve sponsorship, yeah. So if you look at, would say just as a Man United fan, they signed with Adidas a couple of years ago. I think it was like a 10-year deal worth, was it 750 million quid? Coach, correct me if I'm wrong.
The Liverpool fan.
I don't know.
Oh, you're a Liverpool fan, you scum.
I'll check my bank statement.
But yeah, even at that, so like they have a Adidas, Chevrolet, Aeon, Chivas, Tag Heuer, Casillero del Diablo.
I don't think that's how you. I don't think Tag Heuer is how you pronounce it.
Is it Tag Heuer
Yeah.
or Tag Heuer?
It's Hoover, man. Hey, there you
Is
go.
it? It is Heuer, isn't it? Tag Heuer.
Hoover.
I tell you now.
The emphasis.
if I was
It's
on-
the emphasis on how you put it. I think.
Yeah.
If I was on more than 26 grand a year, I could absolutely afford a Tag Heuer. Sadly not.
United
But
Adidas deal
like,
is
I mean, it's
just
You're just a
quick
Tag
round here.
Heuer.
United and
Yeah,
Adidas, £750 million over
10 years, was
10
it?
years.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be
I mean-
corrected on this because I do believe it's probably an urban legend that someone told me once when I was too young to understand. But someone once told me that when a player lifts up his shirt when he scores, apparently the booking is not. It's now been changed to inciting hate, but apparently the reason for that was because you were covering the sponsor.
Mhm.
Willing
So
to
it's
be corrected on
very, that rule is very politically motivated,
that. Financially
as such.
motivated as opposed to.
financially
Because
motivated.
that's
yeah,
where you
yeah.
see the sponsor. The player scores, you run towards the camera,
Yeah.
and then he lifts up his shirt. You don't see the sponsor, and that's what I was told. I don't know how true that is.
What if they pull down their shorts and are wearing Paddy Power boxers?
I
Like
think
Lord
I
Bentner.
think that's
Like
fair
Lord
enough.
Bentner, yeah. Madness.
Stephen Ireland was the original. Do you remember he whipped out the cacks and had the Superman jocks on?
might have been Donegal O'Callaghan either.
Yes.
Wonder how much Superman paid Stephen Ireland to do that.
But having said that,
Crickets.
you might remember Barcelona had, if I read
Yes.
correctly, had never had a shirt sponsorship up until 2006.
And which stage was UNICEF? Which
It was
And
UNICEF.
they don't pay them. Barca pay UNICEF, do you know?
And
coming along
UNICEF
those lines
is,
anyway.
but UNICEF, they had the UNICEF logo, and they donated. Barcelona donated something like 1.5 million quid.
Yeah, they pay UNICEF for having them on their shirts, basically.
Then,
Like I presume they were still getting money in from other sponsors. Like they just didn't have a shirt sponsor. So they were still
yeah, of course,
Qatar
yeah, no,
Airways,
they would have
whatever.
been, yeah. But
Around the
when they
ground, yeah.
changed then from UNICEF to Qatar Foundation, which is a not-for-profit, it was reported that Barcelona received something in the region of 200 million over a 5-year period.
Yeah, then you slip into the dark arts there.
Yeah, Qatar.
Qatar, yes. All our listeners will know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good in a way that, like, I mean, obviously short sponsorship it generates a whole lot of revenue for clubs. It looks good on a jersey as well,
Yeah.
and I think any kind of young person should really who has an interest in any of these kind of things should kind of look into it and just look it up and see where it kind of all started. But it's funny how
It's not a college presentation, bro.
I know it is in Germany where it started off with what's the name of the club again? Eintracht Braunschweig. But you see how some countries have laws against advertising and sponsorship. Like if you ever watched Celtic when they
And
were
next
sponsored
week,
by
the invention of the stamp.
if
I
you
actually like
if
what
you,
you're getting onto there. The H Cup instead of the Heineken Cup, and
if you ever have looked at like a Champions League or a Europa League match with Celtic having to travel to France when they were sponsored by Tennent's or Magners, or Liverpool when they were sponsored by Carlsberg, that they did not have an alcoholic sponsored logo on their shirt.
Absolutely. And then
So
I suppose
some
RB
countries are
Leipzig.
for kind of and against. Yeah.
Or did I hear Leipzig being mentioned?
The infamous Leipzig fan.
The infamous Leipzig jersey.
Fucking start.
But isn't it something like that you can't sponsor? You can't be sponsored by an energy drinks company, and that's why Leipzig.
It's
had to
RB
change
instead of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Racing Bull.
I suppose you look at a soccer jersey, it's just as one main sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
You look at like your less funded sports like rugby, and they will have a sponsor in the middle, sponsor on the top of the back, a sponsor on the bottom of the back.
Thank you. And you're gone.
Did you give me a 5-minute klaxon because that didn't feel?
No,
like
I think
10
he gave you a 6 month.
No,
Because
but
you
look, I
fucking
agree with
tried
the
to
point. I know what
mold.
you're saying. Like rugby, there's sponsors all over them, and you compare it to somewhere like the NFL, and there's nothing on anything.
And the NBA has now started them,
The
but they're
NBA is-
absolutely
yeah,
tiny,
on the shoulder,
just on the top
yeah.
of the singlet. Like
Yeah, they actually just on that. There was fuck me.
Now your point is gone now.
you're out of time.
Wrap
We're on to
it
the next
up.
one. We're on to the next one. The final 10-minute segment.
My
of
my
this
cursor
show.
has frozen. Right, go on, yeah. Coach, fucking spew your shit, will you?
There's no point now having a bad attitude about it.
Listen, Sass, you can kick me off whenever you want.
Right, and start that clock.
Play. Yeah, so look, welcome to my quarter of the show, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I'm gonna need some. I invite all, feedback, questions, qualms, whatever. So the good, kind of last week, Axel Tuanzebe, Man United fans will probably like to correct the way I pronounce that, but listen,
I
that's
think
not
you're
what
correct,
I'm
yeah.
here to do. So came out during the week. I've seen a quick article on how he is a world record holder. Any of you know this?
Hungry Hippos.
Hungry
No,
Hippos.
actually, no.
Axel Tuanzebe holds the quickest time for clearing a table of Hungry Hippos, done in, I believe, Los Angeles on pre-season tour for Manchester United. He cleared a table of Hungry Hippos in 17 seconds rather, and 37.
Not to be
Okay, so-
confused with his teammate Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who holds the record for impregnating the most amount of women.
You had to go there.
Can you see that?
No, I haven't heard this either. Come on,
It's in
here,
poor
blow your
taste.
klaxon, you. Tell me more.
Well, after the klaxon. Jesus. So, 2018, that was Axel, which got me my creative juices flowing, wondering, well, what other athletes have hidden talents, and does it transverse? Does it kind of, is there athletes out there that are wholesome, good athletes who are just good at everything? Okay, so there's a few guys I would have gone to school and stuff that are, they're excellent at one thing, be it football, rugby, fighting, eating, drinking,
Smoking.
or they just happen to be very good at everything, So, AJ Green, did you know, juggles and unicycles and regularly does it at half time? Yeah, for the fans. So that's one that got me. Yeah, AJ Green, Cincinnati.
Yeah, for the fans. Yeah, for the
AJ
fans.
Green, yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't for himself.
Family, yeah.
And then Mookie Betts from the Boston Red Sox bowled 2 perfect games in 2016 in bowling. So, maybe there's a career there in bowling. Maybe. So, is there... One springs to mind of one wholesome athlete that I just think is phenomenal at everything. He's not even a professional, and that's Lee Chin from the Wexford Hurlers. He's transferred his skills to
Katie Taylor.
football, soccer. If you watch the AIB documentary,
Katie Taylor.
ice hockey. Katie Taylor, another one yet.
I didn't want to say it, but
What did he say? What did he say?
He said Lee Chin was a phenomenal
No,
athlete.
no. After Lee Chin and after hurling, he said something.
I said soccer, and I hate saying soccer, but I was using it in the same context as GAA football, so
Association football is the correct
association football, boys.
Yeah, Lee Chin's a good lad.
Look, so that got me
Good-looking
thinking.
fella.
Like, do
That's
you
a good,
think
very good looking fella, very talented.
can it
for a Wexford
transpire? Is there athletes that are just good at everything, and which leads them being good at things like Hungry Hippos or pin the tail on the donkey, or what's that one where the elephant blows the butterflies out with their nose and you have to catch them?
shagging.
I don't know.
Shagging the
there,
elephants.
there has been
nose.
you look at Katie Taylor, Lee Chin, Bo Jackson, played NFL and MLB, as did Deion Sanders.
Bo Jackson also had an MMA fight, I'm fairly sure.
And Herschel Walker.
correct. He did.
Herschel Walker, sorry. Herschel Walker.
No, did Bo Jackson not? Is that on his documentary about either a boxing or an MMA fight?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. That's Herschel
I'll have to
Walker.
go- I'll have to
Herschel
go-
Walker definitely did.
Because Herschel Walker also has an ESPN 30 for 30.
At the tender age of 54, he had his first MMA fight.
The bad of last week, fellas. VAR, VAR. It's not directly at that, but is it time the referees now kind of be held accountable? So the referees in the Premier League and Championship are now all professional. So is it time to be held accountable and they come out after games and do interviews?
That's a very, very good point. I mean, if you look at a post-match where they bring out the two managers, or they might bring out the captains or the man of the matches, yes, absolutely. I think a referee should be interviewed and questioned on performance, and it might be interesting to see if whoever is in Stockley Park, is that what they call it? Where the VAR centre is? Stockley Park should be on standby to answer questions as well on that, because as you know, like anyone who's watched the match or seen post-match analysis, match of the day, or any kind of social media posts and put up by
It triggers the Barstow's podcast.
should definitely be in there for questioning post-match.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's a bit like
The decision's been made, like.
yeah,
This decision's been made, but can they go back and apologise?
Look,
and be like, well, this is my justification for it, or this is how I saw it, or this is how I interpreted it.
but we already know how they would have
it.
seen it because they've given the decision.
What if they didn't go to the VAR screen to look?
Yeah,
They need to.
that's a thing that they should be asked as well.
But we
But I mean,
operated
like-
the game before VAR. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
like.
Do you want to go
come out and apologise for that goal that Lampard scored that didn't count against Germany?
like? Do you want to go to the stage like where it is in the NFL, where after Everton they go ruling on the field overturned, and they explain what the decision was made? Like, I don't know. Like, you're a Liverpool fan, right? What's the worst defeat that's ever happened to Liverpool?
They got whipped by
Worst
Villa.
defeat ever.
The most controversial.
No, I
No,
think the
the,
Everton one, the recent Everton one's got to be controversial. Like that could
Yeah.
affect.
okay.
Like if Liverpool have had 3 decisions now gone against them.
Oh, my heart bleeds.
No.
Please.
Look,
No,
it's
but
just-
like, if the referee comes out and goes, well, the reason I didn't send off Pickford is because it was offside. Anyway, is that going to heal Van
No, but
Dijk's
then-
ACL?
But then the interviewer can go and ask him. Okay, that's fine. Why did Pickford not get sent off?
Yeah, but then it's a witch hunt then, and then you're after someone
Yeah, but then
for.
But it's a witch hunt anyway. I have never seen
It is a
so
witch hunt,
much
yeah.
of a witch hunt on a player for something like that ever.
But like,
Like it's,
So-
it's
so what are you
still going
saying
on
then?
now. When did it happen? It happened before the international break, didn't it?
so are you telling me that if he had got sent off for that, everyone's just gonna go, "Oh, that's fine."
Well, I think people
No,
are going
of
to be.
course
No,
not.
they
but I
won't.
think-
People, sure, when fucking Shawcross broke Eduardo's leg years ago, everyone was like, "Oh, he's a knacker." He was sent
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, but the referee didn't make a mistake.
Like, but I don't see how it.
So after the Liverpool
reflected.
game, if had the referee come out and gone, look, in hindsight, yeah, probably should have sent off Pickford.
but what,
I think
but what
Liverpool
good does it do?
Every fan's, I think every fan's going to be look, he's made a mistake and he's admitted to
Yeah,
it.
but we're
Whereas
still-
now we
Yeah.
don't even know.
He's made a mistake, but we're still getting relegated.
Yeah.
He's made a mistake, but we still lost the cup final.
Yeah. And then
What
it's
fucking
got,
good is it to you?
It'll go
So-
to a stage then where you're like, if you go down your school of thought as you're saying there, it's like he comes out and apologizes. That team will go, oh well, he's after saying he was wrong. Let's lodge an appeal. They lodge an appeal, and then it'll get to
Yeah.
a stage where it's like, oh, games need to be replayed because there was a mistake.
Or
It's the-
suspensions
it's the
handed out that
final
weren't
bit of
given.
that, like, do you know what I mean?
So would you be completely
that
against
would-
referees being interviewed after games?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I
or-
would like this. I would like to see referees being interviewed after games. But what you're saying, I think that would require a change in association football's laws. I mean, can you remember? Yes, you would remember Keane's challenge on Haaland's that ended his life.
yeah.
Pretty much. Remember, he wrote in his autobiography that he
Meant to do it.
meant to do it, done it intentionally. He got a huge fucking fine after that.
Yeah,
A
and
huge fine.
But it
yeah, and
probably
there's a similar one came out during the week with Tom Brewitt from Liverpool and
That's right,
Dan Cleary from Dundalk, and that's still we'll still see how that develops. But for listeners who haven't seen that, just all you have to do is give it a search on Twitter, and there's a lot of grief going on. But listen, I've only got 2.5 minutes left, so the
He's
ugly,
felt like an eternity.
Okay, go on.
the ugly, the GAA should be cancelled going forward. So
You say should or shouldn't
over
be?
the
Sorry.
weekend, we've seen Longford game, Offaly's game off, Waterford Antrim being moved to Dundalk. So I'm going to put my hands up and say it's way too amateur. Players are traveling in their own cars. It's a joke shop. GAA should cancel everything and write the year off. Thoughts?
Just
probably.
the Waterford
Go on,
Antrim
Sass.
one.
You didn't really have a say in that. Go on.
The Waterford Antrim one is for a different reason. It's they don't want to leave the country, so that's why it's moved on Dundalk. Like Waterford didn't actually want to go.
But it's affected by COVID.
Absolutely, yeah, but it's not because of cases.
No, but it's affecting the way the championship is transpiring.
Yeah, but like, you gotta ask the question then. What post do you want to do? Do you want to just roll over and let this thing fucking rip through and not have a normal life and not even fight for a normal life? Or do you try and make the best of it?
You want to fight for your right to party is what he's trying to say.
I'm guessing the
Beastie Boys.
Sasquatch is a Beasties Boys fan.
Yeah, the Beastie Boys said it best.
Bohemians travelled to their away game last week on 2 buses so they could socially distance. Like, the GA aren't doing that. They're not following any sort of... By the looks of things, not following. Like, the lads from Kerry travelling to Monaghan went in all different cars and were stopping at, 27 different petrol stations and shops. So
I agree. No, I do agree with you. I do think it should be hitting the head. Like, at the end of the day, it's an amateur sport. I know, and I know the argument is back and forth. Oh, they're as close to professional as you can get. Yeah, that means wine all, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, you're either professional or you're not professional. Like, I know you could technically say they're elites, even if you want to go down that road of it, because like not amateur athletes, sorry, like Olympic athletes and stuff aren't professional. But I don't think the GAA should be looked at the same level of eliteness, even not even professionalism, like eliteness as say someone like the boxers say in the Olympics or the fucking whoever.
Yeah, like ultimately, most of these lads are teachers or bankers or whatever.
Yeah, like it's a good it's a really good point actually that you're making there, because I mean, at the end of the day, whether you're a professional athlete or not, you're still a fucking human being. You're not immune to anything that's going on. You could go and, fucking wash your hands, but you could go to the petrol station to fill up your car and catch it on a pump.
Well done. That was good. Enjoyed that. The only thing I'd say, just to finish that up, is when people are saying it's like, oh, well, they're as close as professional as you can get. They go and travel to, say, like you were saying earlier, the Kerry lads going up to fucking wherever. I don't know where they were going.
Yeah,
Monaghan, sorry. They played in Monaghan, and it's like, yeah, they go up and they play their game, whatever. It's like they're high level athletes. Like, but if you're a professional athlete, you don't have to go in and teach 30 fucking kids on the Monday morning. Do you know what I mean? You can go home. Say you do get it, you go, oh shit, right, I have to fucking take whatever it is, 10 days, 14 days off training because you have to do your self-isolation shit. Like at the end of the day, these lads, like, this is their
hobby,
pastime, hobby, whatever you want to call it. Like, you can.
Okay,
like, now
there's 4 of us here. Yes or no? Cancel the championship. I'm saying yes.
Yeah, cancel it. I'd say
yes.
Sass?
Yes.
I think it's a player's decision.
Oh. Anyway,
I think they've been provided with the exemption. It's up to them.
Have they? What's the? What's the GPA's position on it, and where are they in terms of testing and stuff?
We're hiding.
They're hiding.
I think the loud.
We're closed for the next 6 weeks.
We're working from home and the phones aren't working.
Pop us in. I
think the loud. To be fair, the loud captain.
I'm gonna get back to you as soon as we can.
They played Cork in the league last weekend, and he said he hasn't been tested as of yet. And we have touched on it a few times. Like, I think it could go ahead, but I think the protocols aren't in place by the GA. They need to be testing them 2-3 times a week, like they're in the NFL.
And I think it's similar to the sponsorship issue in that I don't think every county is going to be under the same scrutiny. So if Dublin versus, say, a Leitrim it's not going to be fair. It's not a fair balance. But anyway, the klaxon went. Sass, take the reins.
Anything else before we finish up, lads? Anything else to touch on?
Oh, I do actually.
No.
I would like to retract my voice note from last week. And if anyone ever brings up the West Ham and Tottenham match from the what was it, the 17th,
18th of October.
the 18th of October 2020, don't spit in their face. Probably shake their hand.
Let's discuss. There was a fantastic meme post on the page. I don't know who made it.
Yeah, I don't know who made it, but it was 10 out of 10. I also seen. I don't know if any of you seen it. I meant to send it on. Declan Rice, although he is probably the third least liked bloke of this podcast, he did share quite a good tweet of somebody who tweeted out when we brought on Lanzini. It was like, oh, look at West Ham, we're bringing on Gareth Bale and they're bringing on Lanzini, and a lower laugh on face.
Yes.
Declan Rice just retweeted it.
Seen
And just goes, this aged well.
I put that on our story on our Instagram.
Did you?
actually.
Yeah,
I
like
put that on,
that's the kind of banter that a turncoat really shouldn't have, but he does. So we'll give him this one. But you know,
Just
It'd
before
be-
we go, I had a few fans on to me, and just a quick 30 seconds. Lomachenko Lopez. What are your thoughts about it?
It was a good fight. Lomachenko didn't get going until probably the 7th round, 8th round if even, and then it was quite a close fight from there. Like Lomachenko is like from previous fights and stuff, he tends to not take the first couple of rounds off, but he starts slow. It's more so the way Messi does in matches. It's to see what they're doing basically. It also came out. Well, sorry, just to finish that point, he kind of started a bit slow, so he was obviously sussing out what Lopez was doing, and the fight kind of got away from him in the sense that like he was nearly too many rounds down when he started picking it up, and that's not to take away from Lopez. He actually won the 12th round. Lopez did, and it was Lomachenko was going for him at this stage. Now, obviously, Lomachenko is not known for like his unbelievable punch power. Like he's not going to stop people dead with one shot like a Tyson would or anything like that. But when the fight was brought to Lopez, he done quite well. It was just, I think if I did say it in the voice note last week as well, I think if Loma does fight him again, he will get the better of him. Just I don't think he'll already seen it, you know, that kind of way, and he'll go from there. He also had an injured shoulder, which I don't know. It's hard to say how much it played into the result, but I would imagine it did play a significant role as he was in surgery the day after the fight. So
Yeah.
So be interesting to see now with your man Teofimo Lopez. Like he's actually very, very good, and there's some good fights there for him. Like Ryan Garcia, who is fighting Jorge Linares soon, which will be quite a good fight. The winner of them could possibly fight Lopez, and then there's Gervonta Davis as well, who is fighting someone, can't remember who now for life of me, but also could fight Lopez. So there's two good options, the winner of that, Garcia and Linares, or Gervonta Davis. And even the one who doesn't fight Lopez, so either fight Lomachenko or hold off for the next shot maybe. But it's nice that boxing has a little bit of
Glamour.
not even glamour. It's nice that there's a bit of competitiveness or there's an option for competitiveness in a boxing division. I suppose the heavyweights that there is a little bit, but like as you've like boxing has been for the past God knows however many years, there's so many fights that have been missed out on just by a couple of years, just by contracts not being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorted, and with these couple of lads like Garcia, Gervonta Davis, and Teofimo Lopez, they're all like in their early 20s, so possibly could get 3, if not 2, good quality boxing fights before any of them are out of their prime or whatever. And then there's still Linares, and then the return of the King will be legendary when Lomachenko comes back and smokes all of them and then retires. That's my opinion. Could be very wrong, but that's what I think. So I think you'd be looking at.
Perfect. Why don't you take us away, Doctor?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah. Wow.
Joe Burrow scored another touchdown. Just saying. What a champion.
And so Tommy Ball with another try. One day we'll get this out of you. One day. Yeah. Jesus. Thank you very much for listening. Is all I can say. Stay safe. We have been the Three Busted Barstools. Plus our guest, the coach. I've been the doctor. He's been the Sasquatch, and the return of our very own goat, Beric Donderian. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Three Busted Barstools. Thank you very much for listening. Good night. We'll talk to you soon. Any fan questions, please put them in soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, good night.
Signing off.